Welcome to An Awful World, but not awful like you think.
This is the show where we discuss whether we would have discovered important advances in a world exclusively full of Haylies and Libbys. I'm Haylie.
And I'm Libby. And today we're talking about mummies. I feel like I needed to say it in like a spookier tone than my usual like upbeat, you know? Mummies. It's like mummies. I'm so excited for this. This is a topic for which I am obnoxious about.
Because of your time at the museum in
Houston. I never stopped talking. I didn't stop talking about it for weeks after I went. Because mummies are so fucking fascinating to me. I just can't. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
We'll get into why I love it so much. Mm-hmm. Because there's a specific reason. But mummies. So we think mummies began in all places. Egypt.
Obviously. Egypt.
Of course, Egypt. Around 3500 BC. So old, which we knew.
Yeah.
You know, because like every time you think mummy, you think hella old.
Yeah, you're just
right?
like, that's ancient.
Right, exactly. So it was a really super religious thing for them.
Yes.
That's why they did it. It would have like special priests do this. Mm-hmm. And I guess it could take up to like 70 days.
Yeah, that's what I saw too.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But essentially it's just like the process of drying a body out.
Yes.
Through whatever means that may be.
Yeah.
It's different.
And apparently they think that it was just like accidental to start.
Yes.
Because of the like dry air
in Egypt.
In Egypt.
Yes. And the certain like geographical like different minerals and things like that are in the air or in the earth, wherever, you know, specifically in Egypt, of course, but there are mummies from other societies and cultures as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, they think they discovered it on accident because it's super fucking hot in Egypt and they just left the body out just a little too long and it totally was like preserved for a long time. So then they started making it a religious thing because the Egyptians had a big belief in like your body and they thought that it like would be with you in the afterlife, basically.
Yes. And that it was like your spirit and that like your body was the home of your spirit.
Exactly.
And so if you didn't preserve the body, then the spirit could be lost.
Yes.
And stuff like that.
In the afterlife.
Yes.
So it was a big thing for them, particularly among like royalty.
Yes.
But like
obviously
high class people, like, so they did like mummify regular people too.
Yeah.
But they like, it was less of a process and they wouldn't put them in a sarcophagus and all this stuff, which of course is just like a fancy coffin that the mummy goes in. But let's talk about how they do it.
Yes.
Because it's a weird process.
So weird.
So the Egyptians would take out all of your organs except for your heart.
Yes, because they thought that was
like
the source of your
like knowledge.
Your knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were like, the brain, useless. They would pull it out through their nose.
With a hook.
I know. And then, but we're not just going to toss all this aside, even though we think your brain is useless. We're going to put it in jars and then bury it with you.
Yeah.
Because you still want these.
I mean, you know, just suck it back up through your nose when you get into the afterlife.
That's
just
so interesting to me. Like, why are we taking it out for you just to, could we just not, meh, all right.
I guess because they decompose faster.
That's true. So you would get all soppy.
Yeah. Yeah. So they had to take them out.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm also like,
fair enough.
Why save them? Because
I know it's weird. It's very, very weird. Do you want to talk more about the process? Because I have like tidbits about the process, but I remember, you know, reading about them pulling the brain out through the nose.
That was like the first thing I wrote down. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So awful. And then they just like leave them in salt pretty much though.
Yeah. Salt and then like other like, you know, frankincense and like murder. And other minerals that would, you know, remove the moisture.
Yeah.
Sometimes I guess that they had like kind of a version of like early embalming with these like resins, but it's not, obviously it's not like embalming like we have today.
No.
Where it's like a real fine science, but like, you know, kind of. And then they would wrap you in linen.
Yes. And they'd like put amulets and stuff in the linens, which I didn't know.
And then bury you with in a tomb. Yeah. You're not like buried. Kind
of like a mausoleum.
Exactly. In a tomb with, you know, some of your other important things. Anything that they think you might need in the afterlife. Money, you know, your jewels, whatever. Yeah. It all goes all with your
stuff.
Yep.
Which was so funny because nowadays we're like, can't take it with you.
I know.
And they're like, you can.
You literally can.
They're like, you're going to need all of these things, actually.
Like, I don't think so. But even, you know, that kind of survived a long time because even in, you know, like 19th century England, they, you know, used to bury you with coins on your eyes because that's what you would like. That's the currency you would need to cross the river.
Oh, that's kind of cute.
Yeah. I mean, sure. It's a little freaky.
I mean, yeah.
If you've ever read A Christmas Carol, like,
I mean, I did like the 6th grade.
Okay. Well, Jacob Marley, the guy who dies at the very beginning, who's the ghost that haunts him. Like that's kind of how it starts out. Is like he's just died and the coins on his face, and then you know Scrooge is obsessed with money and blah blah blah. So anyway, that's why I know that. But getting back to the mummies, so this happened in other societies. Certainly not as common as in Egypt because it was such a big part of their religion. But I read about the most fascinating thing that I want to talk about.
Let's hear it.
Which are the accidental mummies of Guanajuato.
Oh.
Did you read about them at all?
No, I did not.
I was fucking in a rabbit hole yesterday reading about these. So the accidental Guanajuato mummies are mummies that come from Mexico. There's a town in Mexico, I think like maybe 100 miles west of Mexico City. So very centrally located Mexico. Same kind of thing. The air there is really arid. They, you know, have the right kind of minerals in the ground, whatever, all of that. So what was happening is in like the early like 1800s, I believe, cholera was like, you know, tearing through Mexico. Lots of people are sick and dying from cholera. So they're like trying to get people buried really, really fast. So they were using salt to try to like dry them out, especially so that they wouldn't like spread more disease to other people. But they also required people to pay this like burial tax. But it was a tax that your family had to continually pay. If your family stopped paying you, they would disinterm you. They would take you out of, you know, your mausoleum, your grave, whatever. They'd take you out. You're not paying anymore. We're not keeping you buried here. Oh. Sorry about you. The people became accidentally mummified. And they were like, there's a really cool picture. We'll have to see if we can like throw it up on the Instagram or something because I was trying to explain this to my boyfriend yesterday. And I'm like, hold on, let me just find the picture. But it's basically like, it's an old picture, black and white picture of this hallway, which I assume is like in the like mausoleum or the cemetery, but you know, I don't know what the exact situation was, but all of the halls are just lined with mummies. But they're not wrapped in linen like, you know, mummies from Egypt because it wasn't a religious thing. It was an accident. Yeah. Because they were disinterring these people and it was so hot. And so like enough sunlight, enough of the right kind of air, it's going to dry you right out. And mummies. And it's the eeriest picture ever because they're just mummified humans, just like standing up against a wall. And I think by like the mid like 1800s, by like 1850s, they were charging people a couple pesos to come and see the mummies, come see the accidental mummies of Guanajuato. So they still are there. It's a museum now. It's a mummy museum and you can go in, you can see them and it is fascinating as fuck. And I want to go there so bad now so that I can see them because how weird. Then they just have them like set up, you know, like behind glass cases, but how they were when they were found. Yeah. And they only died, you know, like 230-ish years ago.
Interesting.
They're accidental mummies.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Isn't it?
Should we take a field trip?
A trip? I would love that. I want to see more mummies.
Yes.
I saw mummies.
Always want to see the mummies.
In Houston.
I saw mummies in Paris.
Ooh, tell me about the Parisian mummies you saw. I mean, they weren't Parisian.
Yeah, I was like, they were not Parisian. They were just
the mummies I saw
there.
were not Texans. That's for sure.
But they had like maybe we'll put this on the Instagram too. The linen was in like this beautiful like square design on the face.
Yeah.
And where it just kind of like was like a big square spiral kind of thing on it. And it was just like, they're so intricate,
amazing,
so beautifully, wrapped. And it really shows how much they like cared about,
respected the dead.
Yes. Yeah. Respected the dead and just like cared about them and things like that. But it is just like fascinating to see because you just like see that and you're like, there's a dead guy in there.
Yes.
Ooh.
That is the thing that got me the most when I saw them. So I had never seen mummies before I went to the Natural History or Natural Science Museum in Houston, and they had a whole like Egyptian exhibit. And I remember I didn't take any pictures because these are dead people.
Yeah.
And I just like, and I distinctly remember too, like there were these girls that were like taking selfies, like in the Hall of Egypt exhibit. And I was just like, what's wrong with you? Like, this is kind of sacred.
Yeah.
Or it is to me, like I want to respect it. But a lot of the ones that they had in Houston had been unwrapped, or portions of them were unwrapped. So you can see their faces.
Oh, wow.
And there is something so spooky about looking at this body sitting in a museum and thinking about the fact that this was a person that walked the earth 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And we still have this much of them left.
Yeah.
Their skin, their hair. I mean, one of them had hair.
Wow.
Still.
That's wild.
It was bananas.
The ones in the Louvre are like so well preserved. Like, they're completely covered to the point where you're just like, you could have like wrapped a mannequin up and I would have no idea, kind of a thing. Now, something I want to talk about is the fact that there are so few mummies left.
Okay, how many are left? I don't know about this.
I don't know how many are left, but there used to be like tons of mummies. And there are so few left because people ate them.
What? Oh, wait. I did read about this because there was like mummy medicine.
Yes. So in Egypt, I guess sometimes they ate them. And I guess there was this whole belief that like eating them, it was like mummy medicine because they thought that it would heal certain ailments such as like epilepsy and things like that. They thought if you ate them, but then also that they were eaten because they thought it would transfer their wealth.
Interesting.
Because if you like the people who were normally mummified were high class
wealthy people.
So they were eating them to like steal their wealth, which is terrible.
Talk about giving new meaning to eat the rich.
Right, honestly. But then also in the Victorian era, a bunch of white people were stealing mummies and eating them. And they were having like mummy unwrapping parties and things like that. White people suck.
Yeah.
Like that's nasty.
That became a huge thing by like the 20s. The 1920s, that is. I realize now we're living in the 2020s and I don't like that. That's a spooky thought. The 1920s.
Which is not long ago.
No. That they started like, they became a part of like mainstream culture at that point. Because before that, they weren't.
Yeah.
But all these white explorer type people would go, archaeologists, I guess, would go to Egypt and other places. They would dig up these mummies and they would unwrap them. And I think like the big one that caught attention was King Tut.
Yeah.
I think it was him that the archaeologist, I think his last name was Carter. And he, the curse of, mummies and you unwrapped them and all this bad stuff started happening to you, which was way blown out of proportion, kind of like a Hope Diamond type situation. But yeah, and that's like what created this like modern like idea of like, mummies are like, it cemented them in like monster history,
Yeah.
And then like by like the 1930s, there was like a mummy movie and it was then that's what created the, they're wrapped and you can't see their faces and they're mute and they walk with their arms out and all this stuff. That's where it came from, which is crazy to think of just like this just started out as like these people preserving their dead.
Yeah, they're just trying to like respect the dead.
Yes. And then it turned into like they're monsters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it is wild because it is like an embalming process.
Yeah.
And it's weird that we still do it today. I mean, we don't mummify people, but we still like embalm people today. And like, I would like to talk about how this plays into an awful world.
Mm-hmm.
And
that is the point of the podcast.
Right. But do you think that this would happen? Because I think that like wrapping them in linen, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I could see how some like drawing out using the salt just to kind of keep all the like goo, you know, from decomposing and all of that. I could see that happening. Whatever. Now hooking their brain out through their nose.
Not gonna be doing that.
I don't see that happening.
No, I don't either.
Jarring their brain and their organs.
I'm gonna leave them together, intact.
I don't see that happening either.
Yeah, I don't either. I guess I've never really given a ton of thought to like what would like burial traditions be in an awful world, because for the most part, like any burial traditions that we have now, which is like just, typical burial in the United States of either you're cremated or you're embalmed and then put in a casket and buried in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That is for the living, right? Like it makes us feel like we have closure, being able to see that person and sort of, I don't know. It's weird.
It's a really weird process. It does not give me closure. I don't like it at all.
I wouldn't say I like it, but I'm intrigued by it because every time I go to a funeral and like look at that body, I'm just like, there's nobody in there anymore.
No.
And that freaks me out.
Well, why are we like showing them off?
I don't know.
I truly dislike it. And something that I've noticed is like the older generations, like boomers and stuff.
They love it. And they take pictures.
Yes. It's the pictures. They love an open casket and they want pictures of them, a live human being, standing with a dead human.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
And they want a bunch of pictures of it. And then they're going to put it like in a scrapbook and pass those pictures down. And I'm just like, at some point, society is going to move past that and be like, that was really weird.
Except for the fact that it like really hasn't changed over the last like several hundred years. You know what I mean? Like at least in American culture. I don't necessarily like it because those people never look like themselves.
No, they don't.
When they're in a casket. Like
it's unsettling.
It is unsettling. Like people that you know the best, that your grandparents.
Yeah.
You look at that and you're like, that's not what they looked like.
No.
And that's not really how I want to remember them either. I want to remember them as they were in life.
Yeah. So why are we...
And not in death. So I'm not really sure what we would do with bodies, but I don't think that obviously we'd be doing like full blown mummification, but no. I don't think we do anything like cremation because I don't think we're going to like decimate a body on purpose. I think that would freak me out. I think I'd be like, ooh, we need to respect this. And like,
no,
you think that we would do cremation?
I do. Because I'm like, ew, get rid of it.
Oh, no, I don't think.
Here's the thing.
That's a person. That's what would freak me out.
Yeah, but they're dead.
I know, but I can't. I still am like, you can't do that. Like, which is stupid because I don't have any issue with cremation.
Yeah.
Myself.
I want to be cremated.
I do not. And I totally understand that some people want to, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just thinking of if it's an awful world and I have no knowledge of anything else, I don't understand the meaning of the universe, or, if I don't have religion yet or whatever, am I really going to be cool with burning a body? I don't know. I don't think so.
I think I would, because what are you going to do with it?
Bury it.
Yeah, but then like everything
Mark
just
the
like
spot. There is something comforting about, like, I think some people, that is where they feel like most connected to a person that's gone, is like at their grave. I don't feel that way.
No.
That's not how I like feel connected to people I know that have passed, but I know for some people that is the case. And so I do think there is something to be said for like, oh, here's marking the spot, like where we put this body.
Yeah. Well, I do feel like you would have to mark the spot, because otherwise, what if you had to dig into the ground for something later and then all of a sudden you're like, a dead body.
A body.
Like, You don't want that.
I know.
I do think it's like, I understand burying a body. It's very much like it's returning back to the earth, you know, things like that. And like, obviously you're not just going to like leave it out on the sidewalk.
Well, no.
Like
you
that's
shouldn't.
worse. I mean, they did do that.
Yeah, I know.
For a long time. I think they just kind of like,
There you go.
you know, popped you over to the side of the road, and then the plague happened, and so they were like, "Oh, we got to get rid of all these dead bodies."
Doing that,
and that's how we have like
bury them or throw them in the ocean.
Yeah. See, I feel like we should just throw them in the ocean.
I mean, I'd be okay with that. That's still returning to the the earth.
Decompose in the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Would they? Well, there's a lot of salt in the ocean.
Absolutely, you decompose in the ocean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that's fine. Let's put them in the ocean. Because my thing is, I think it's weird now that we're like, here, let me put you in this big metal box where first of all, we've embalmed you so that you don't decompose.
Mm-hmm.
Then we put you in this metal box to seal you in, even in case you do spring a leak. But so like, you can't really go back to the earth. Like symbolically, we're giving you back to the earth.
Yeah.
But also not really. And then there's so many people on this earth. Aren't we just going to run out of space at some point? Where are we going to put all these bodies?
I mean, there are bodies just like, 15 feet down into the earth and farther from forever.
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, we're already burying people on top of other people we've buried.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to.
Works.
It's just weird though. But like, I don't know. But I'd put a body in a fire.
I don't know that I would.
I think I would, because I would be like, well, they're not there anymore. So
yeah, I question my understanding of like all of that in an awful world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't think we would have mummification on purpose in an awful world. And I don't think that that's a way that we would like want to preserve people either.
I think that it's like certain parts of it, yes. Other parts, no. Like I don't see either of us like hooking their organs out or anything like that. And I don't really see us doing like very elaborate wrapping of linen. I could see us like rolling them up in a sheet.
Yeah. Yeah, but nothing really beyond that. Yeah.
But I'm not going to like sit there for hours with a dead person weaving linen between their toes.
70 days.
Like I'm not doing all that.
Yeah.
Because they would like wrap each finger and toe individually. And I'm like, I don't want to spend that much time with a dead person.
It's also just...
But people do it today with like putting makeup on dead people.
I mean, that's true.
And that's still weird to me.
It's for us. It is 100% for us.
I know.
I think,
don't get it.
Having seen the faces of real mummies, it is spooky. Yeah. You get why, it's turned into what it's turned into. Although, which is funny because like the like classic mummy, you don't ever see like what their face looks like. You know what I mean? Like in a horror cartoon situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's creepy, honestly. And like it's so interesting that we're talking about this now because we are recording this just a couple days after the actor Gene Hackman died.
Yeah.
And he and his wife were found dead together in their home in Arizona. I think New Mexico. I think they live in Santa Fe. So apparently they had been dead for some time.
Yeah, that's what Ty just told me.
Yeah, and their hands and their feet were mummified because of the hot air in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Right? And so like I just can't imagine like like wanting that to be what happened to a body. Like that would freak us out. We would be like, oh my God. Like it's been like this like gruesome detail that's, been talked about like, oh, their hands and their feet were mummified. It's like, that's fucking creepy. That's awful. I'm so sorry.
You know what's sad though, is because we just finished up our March Munchies episodes. Now I just keep thinking human pepperoni. Like,
if a pig dies in Egypt.
Exactly.
Ooh, foreshadowing. Human pepperoni. That's disgusting.
I know.
Now I really feel like I should do more research on the curing of meats because I just really don't understand how it works. And that's what led to all of that. But it's such a... I don't know. It's such an interesting thing. And I wish I had done more research about like, okay, obviously like I found these Mexican mummies that are so fucking cool.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I really don't know if there are many other like populations that did that, still do that.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
It does. I feel like if
it was such a religious thing.
Yes. And I feel like if there wouldn't be such a, like, emphasis on the fact that, like,
they're Egyptian.
Yeah. Yes. You know? But I respect it.
Yeah.
And I totally get it. And it was amazing. I mean, like, they're still to this day finding mummies, and they're like, we can see what they would have looked like as human beings,
which is wild
now. And I just saw an article a couple days ago that was like, mummies smell good because of all like the frankincense. Yes, and I'm just like, that's so gross. They're like, these dead bodies smell great.
Really good.
Oh my God. Like, you're going to go to Bath and Body Works and get like a mummy scented candle.
Yeah.
You know?
Smells like frankincense. Which I don't even know what frankincense smells like.
I don't either. I just assume Christmas.
Yeah, just golden myrrh and frankincense.
That's right. I got you myrrh.
Murder. Shit, I was going to say something about mummies and how cool they are. And it's just completely gone out of my head. They smell good. We're still finding them.
People ate them.
Yeah, people ate them.
They've got the amulets.
I have no idea what I was going to say about it. So
I don't know.
That's too bad. But
with that, I mean, they definitely learned a lot for embalming purposes and things like that. Do you think that, like, in an awful world, we would have any sort of like embalming
No, I don't.
situation?
I really don't think that there would be any type of like preservation methods, because I don't want to do that.
No.
It's weird. It's weird that we do it now.
Yes.
And it's literally, I mean, like I said, it's fully for us. Like, it's for the living to be able to like look at somebody and understand that I do think it makes people have that connection of like, this person is dead and I need to understand that.
Yeah.
Because death is such a weird thing for us to wrap our brains around. Oh my God, I remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
And I have to say it because it's so funny. So yesterday I was like, doing some research, and then I was looking online. I was looking at King Tut, and like, King Tut's sarcophagus is like what's mostly like traveled around, but he is on display now somewhere, and you can see his face now.
Oh.
And so I looked up a picture of his face. It's hysterical. And they did like a sort of like animated rendering of him.
Yeah.
The thighs on this man. I mean, baby boy had a body like a pear in the picture. And I was like, why is this the way that you imagined King Tut would look?
Yeah.
Like, you just are going off the face. Is he hiding these ginormous hips under there? I don't like, honestly, if you are listening to this, you need to go look up that picture because it made me laugh so hard. But like, the big focus for his face was like, his teeth are kind of like sticking out under his lip. And it's like really emphasized in the rendering of him. And it's hysterical. Yeah.
Cause didn't he have like wasn't he like really young and had a bunch of like health conditions because of like all the incest?
Well, probably.
And all of that.
And he looks, Ty is like making a face that I hope he's looking at the picture of King Tut that I'm talking about. Because the rendering is just so funny. Yes, it's so weird. Like, he's just body like a back road.
We'll put it on the Instagram.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll do a whole mummy post.
It's hysterical. And I was just like, why did they come up? Why not just make him look normal? I don't understand.
I just, what's so funny though is like, it's like with animals and stuff, if you take like a skeleton of something and then like what scientists would think it is versus what it actually looks like. And so it's like, we actually have no clue.
We don't know.
And I mean, with mummies, it's a little more because you have like the tissue and stuff like that, but also kind of you don't because.
Yeah. Cause a lot of it will like, it's the top layer of your skin mostly that's like being preserved.
Yeah.
Not.
So like you're losing a lot of those features
all of
and
that
stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
It's your skin.
Yes. So I've seen
the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Leatherface.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't either. It's interesting.
Yeah.
We like come up with these renderings. Like, it makes me think of like dinosaurs. like T-Rexes. Did they really look how we think they looked? Like, how do we know?
Yeah, probably not. I mean, sometimes some people think that like dinosaurs had feathers and things like that.
Yeah, we really don't know.
Yeah, and we have no idea what they sounded like.
No, we don't. We just made all that up in our heads.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're like scaly. We just like associate dinosaurs with being scaly.
Yeah.
We don't know that.
Yeah, we have no idea.
No idea.
All we have are their bones.
Yeah.
So like,
that's it. So there's really a lot of speculating going on about these things. But at least with humans, we know a little more.
Yeah,
about what they looked like 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Because we have a bunch of mummies.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much that's like mummies have told us about like their diet and their like, I don't know, their behavior and all of these things.
I think it tells a lot because in that article that I was reading that was like, mummies smell good. It was saying that they can, to this day, figure out like what diseases people had based off of their mummified body and things like that. So, I mean, it definitely lent itself to,
science.
Yes.
Scientific advancement. Yeah. Understanding of how people 3,500 years ago behaved.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I know. I don't know. I definitely know in an awful world we wouldn't be unwrapping mummies.
No, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Look, I've watched every single Indiana Jones movie and I love him. But some bad shit always happens whenever you're just like messing around with dead people. Yeah. And I've also seen The Mummy, which is a great movie and also pretty spooky. So just don't do it. Just if you come across a mummy, first of all, call your local archaeologist to come out. Check it out. Don't touch the mummy. Don't move the mummy. Go to Houston or London and see the mummy. No, Paris.
Paris.
I think King Tut's in London right now.
That could be.
I think. So look into that. Find out where King Tut is. I'd love to see him.
Me too.
That'd be so cool.
That would be cool. Field trip.
Yeah. Field trip to London to see King Tut and his big booty. Seriously, look up that picture of him. But yeah, that's what I have to say about mummies. Do you have anything else to say about mummies?
No. I don't think that we would do it. I think that we could get there accidentally. We would not be so ornate.
No. No, and like it's interesting to know that it's probably how the Egyptians discovered it anyway.
Yeah, and that it still kind of happens now.
Yeah.
Still.
I mean,
Hackman.
It can certainly happen to you. Yes, in the course of decomposition. But I don't think anybody modern day, as far as I know, is like purposefully mummifying bodies. But
what if I put it in my will that I would like to be mummified?
I mean,
do you think someone would do it?
Probably. But then it's like, well, what do I bury you with? Do I bury you with your iPhone and your... That's just weird, It's just not the same.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably be like, please mummify my pets and then mummify me.
Well, there are mummified pets, which is cool.
That is cool.
And with the accidental mummies of Guanajuato, they actually have a mummified fetus from a pregnant woman. Yeah. And it's spooky as fuck.
Yeah, I bet. Because the fetus is already like disgusting looking.
Yeah, and it's like, it's really tiny, but it has a big head. And I don't know. Look into it. Or don't. That shit freaks you out. Don't look it up. I thought it was fascinating. Read about it. It's pretty cool. Cool story. Weird story. And also just like humans being shitty and like, well, you're not paying your burial tax? Too damn bad. You're a mummy now, bitch.
Yeah, feels like that should be a one-time fee. I'm just saying.
It does feel like that. And that went away, I think, shortly after that happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway.
Wild.
I know. So, yeah. That's mummies.
Yeah.
It's a fun topic. It's not a topic that there's a lot to say about. I mean, there is.
Yeah.
But like talking about it in an awful world, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, we're pretty much just like, no,
that's weird. What we would do, I think that there's a disagreement on that of exactly what would happen with bodies in an awful world. Maybe we can explore that at a later date. I don't know. Maybe we can explore like, just like burial ritual type things.
Yeah.
And if there are any, I'd like to look into the rituals of other societies and see what they do and see if I'm like more charmed with theirs than ours.
Yeah, because I don't like ours.
It's just weird. Death is weird. Death is a weird thing to wrap your head around, and like everybody dies, so you just have to think about that sometimes. But also, I have so many thoughts.
I know.
So many thoughts that I couldn't possibly condense into, one episode about mummies. So you'll have to tune back in to hear more.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us today as we talk about mummies. We'll hopefully throw some pictures up on Instagram about mummies. Some of the mummies we've seen, King Tut and his thighs and his booty that don't quit.
King Tut in that butt.
Exactly. But check us out, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Like us, subscribe to us. Give us a 5-star rating if you are so inclined. If you would like to become a patron for us, we are on Patreon. That's at patreon.com/anawfulworldpodcast. We have 3 different tiers, lots of fun things that are included in each tier. And we have a spot over there for our patrons to tell us what they want to hear about in future episodes. So check us out over there. Listen to us every Friday. And until then, we hope that your day is simply awful.